Hi everyone, this is a short presentation on noun clauses. Let's get right into it. Well, first, what is a noun clause? Well, it's pretty much a more sophisticated noun. Okay, it acts in pretty much the same way as a noun does. It can be the subject or object of a verb. Very often you'll find them after adjectives, okay, as an adjective complement to go with the adjective. They're identifiable very often by a relative pronoun. Okay, if you remember your relative pronouns, many noun clauses start with that. Okay, but we can also have why, what, whether, how much, how long, and a few others. And you can also associate them with certain verbs as well. So noun clauses very often follow say or explain or mention or think or remember. So let's look a bit deeper into what exactly they are. Again, they can be the subject of a verb. So let's have make or makes as a verb. Okay, so we want to say you have graduated, makes the whole family proud. But this doesn't work because you can't have you have graduated as a noun. It's not a noun, it's just a clause. So how do we make it into a noun clause? Well, we just use that at the start. That you have graduated makes the whole family proud is fine. Okay, that turns you have graduated into a noun. And as we know, we need a noun to be the subject of the verb. So that's the noun clause here. It can also be the object of a verb or act as an adjective complement. Let's have a look at that. So complained is the verb here. We have the students complained. The room was too cold. So we can add in that at the start of the noun clause. The room was too cold. And this would be the noun clause. After an adjective as well. So for example, obvious is the adjective here. So it was obvious. The student had not prepared. Again, we can use that to open up the noun clause that acts as the object. But when a noun clause is the object of a verb or an adjective complement, we don't really need that. Okay, so we can take that out of both of them. Now the first one, okay, when it's a subject, you need it. There's no choice. You have to have it. But when it's the object, that is optional. You can include it or you can leave it out. Okay, let's have a look at these three sentences. Which one do you think is correct? So with the first one, the main verb in this sentence is was. So the professor gave the students an extension. That is a clause. We want that to be a clause. And how do we make it into a clause? Well, we just use that. That the professor gave an extension was helpful. For the next one, this is a very common error that students make. They like to put two relative clauses together. Relative pronouns together. So say that and what. But actually, this is very, very rare. It doesn't happen very often. If you see two of them together, more than likely you can take one of them out. The student doesn't care what his teacher thinks. And then lastly, we have Amy who's disappointed that her friends left. That's fine. Okay, so just be careful not to have two relative clauses together. Very often it doesn't work. Okay, so sometimes we can't just use that. We have to add in a phrase. So for example, the fact that, the idea that, or the possibility that. One of these cases is if there is a phrasal verb. For example, faced up to. You see that's a phrasal verb. There's the two prepositions at the end. So Andy faced up to he had not prepared for the exam. Now we can't just add in that in this case because it's a phrasal verb. What we need is a noun phrase. So for example, the fact that. And this works the same with adjective with a preposition. So for example, is worried about. So the mayor is worried about. Nobody will vote for him. Again, we can't just use that So we need to use one of these noun phrases. The possibility that nobody will vote for him. So the last case is it with certain verbs like accept, discuss, overlook, hide, support. There are a few others as well. Okay, so we have support, the teacher, students could grade themselves. Again, we can't just put in that. We need a noun phrase plus that. So the idea that works okay in this case. We use these predominantly with phrasal verbs, when there's a preposition with an adjective, and with certain verbs. We also use noun phrases beginning with that for reporting verbs and verbs that have mental activity, that describe mental activity. So what I'd like you to do is just note down the reporting verbs from the verbs at the top. Reporting verbs are when we're like reporting information we've heard to other people. Okay, so the first one is mention. So somebody mentioned that. Somebody states that. Again, these are very often used in quoting. Somebody claims that. My friend told me that. For mental activity, we have think, guess, notice, doubt. Again, all of these are the brain is working to kind of like notice or guess or think about these things. Walk is neither, and obviously know is also mental activity. So with these, we very often use a noun phrase. Again, my roommate mentioned that he would have friends over tonight. Okay, my parents doubt that I will get into Harvard. So notice that it's optional. You can use it or you can omit it. It's up to you. But noun phrases beginning with that very often follow reporting verbs and verbs with mental activity. Okay, subjunctive. A little bit tricky this. Other special verbs, any verbs expressing recommendation, advice, explanation, or requirement, use the base form afterwards. Okay, let's see what this means. So he suggested that John be the leader. Now, be sounds strange here, okay, because you think it'd be John is the leader. But because we use suggest, it opens up a subjunctive. So we have to use the base form. Recommend as well. I recommended that he go to the writing center for extra tutoring. Again, here, it's not he goes. We use the base form after recommend or suggest. For the next one, the teacher demanded that the student apologize. Again, it's not apologizes, it's apologize. It's in the base form because it's one of these verbs. Okay, so suggest, recommend, demand, there are certain verbs that take the subjunctive afterwards. And the subjunctive is just use the base form of the verb. Okay, let's have a quick recap. So which sentence is correct out of these four? Which one do you think? So the first one, the president is concerned about nobody likes him. Remember what has to happen when we have adjective plus preposition? We need one of those noun phrases. Okay, so the president is concerned about the fact that nobody likes him. Okay, after a preposition, we can't just put in that. For the next one, the counselor suggested the student to take summer classes. Again, this is suggest. So this is the subjunctive. So it's not to take, it's going to be take. We use the base form after suggest in this case. I don't know what is the answer. Now, what is the answer is a question form. Okay, but remember, this is not a question. This is a statement. So you're still going to use subject plus verb. So I don't know what the answer is. Okay, so it's tricky. When you see what, you think it's going to be a question, but in this case it's not, because it's acting as the opening of the noun clause, which means that the last one is correct. Okay, the student said that she would submit the homework tomorrow. That's all fine. Okay, best of luck using your noun clauses in your papers.